They're going to take the land off the people. They're going to take the land off the people, because if the people don't have land, they're not free. If you've got land, you can grow stuff, you can eat, you can survive, you've got a house, you don't pay rent. You're free. You're free. And they need to take that freedom away. They need to take the freedom away so that they can control. When they make the land grab is not going to be the first time that people have taken the land before. If you look at South America, for instance, Colombia in the 1950s, I believe it was, the government decided to take land off the farmers, off the people. And the farmers and the people, what did? They rose up and they created something called the FARC. The FARC needed money in order to fund themselves, so they produced cocaine. So the cocaine that you eat, the cocaine that you snort, the cocaine that you take, the cocaine funds a group of people from the 1950s that had their land taken away from them from the government. That's basically it in a nutshell. When they take away the land and you need narco in order to get your guns, in order to get your bombs, in order to get your uniforms, in order to get your military surplus, you fight. You get it from other countries, other nations supply the arms. And you end up in organizations where, for instance, you help people in Ireland, make things that explode. And then you get other actors, that deliver things in boxes that are made out of wood, that have metal things inside them, that when you take out and you put something in it and you press a trigger, things go off and things happen. So if you take away land from people, you end up with militia, you end up with paramilitary, you end up with terrorist organizations. And what's the terrorist organization? The terrorist organization is just something which is against the system, That if a terrorist organization, if they win, they're not a terrorist organization. And if they lose, they are. So it's all subjective. These names get thrown around, here and there in order to conjure up, public emotion, in order to divert what's important away from the public, and then make sure that the public have some sort of emotional sentiment to what you're saying and support you, because you show certain types of pictures of what these people are doing, and you show drugs, and then you show what goes on with drugs, and you show all the bad things that are involved with narco and war and slavery and selling things and people and women and refugees and all of this stuff. They'll come for the land. They'll come for the land, and when they come for the land, they'll do it in very, very clever ways. They'll stop you from selling. You'll only be able to use certain amounts of seeds. They'll take away licenses. They'll do all sorts of things to make it harder and harder and harder. They don't want you to own things. Now, maybe we shouldn't own land, maybe we shouldn't own houses. But if we don't own houses and we don't own land, we need to have some sort of semblance of freedom. What is freedom? But they're taking away the freedom and the houses and the flats and the land and everything else, yeah? And when they come for that, and you've got those last remain, because in England, they're taking away the rights of the landlords. The landlords are ceasing to be able to have rights. If you have a house, the people in the house are having more rights. And it will come to a point where it will be very difficult in order to own a house, if not rent it out, if not own more houses than one, which perhaps is a good thing, because every single person should have a right to have a house. And everyone shouldn't have to pay too much to live there. And at the moment, a third, 2/3 of your wages are taken up with rent and things like that. But when they come for the land, and you have land, and not a lot of other people have land, and they take it, other people aren't going to be feeling sorry for you. They're not going to have empathy, and you will not have anything to defend your land with, because they disarmed people. The only people that still have arms are the Americans. You take things off the Americans stand up, but very slowly, over a very large period of time, every other nation has been disarmed, because the government gives safety. The government gives safety, you disarm, and then when the government doesn't give you safety, you can't do anything, because people aren't responsible with arms. Why? Because originally they were Fine, everyone had bows, everyone had arrows, everyone had arms. And then suddenly, for some reason, people became stupid and started killing other people. And that was something which was caused by society. And who runs society? Government. So while government disarm you in order to protect you, they do other things that make people crazy, that make people use guns in order to go and hurt people, that make people want everyone else to be disarmed. And that's the way it is. So in the future, people will come for your land. You will not own land. When they take the land away, you will not be able to have communities. You will not be able to grow food that you want. You will not be able to eat food that hasn't been genetically modified. Maybe. I'm talking about an extreme case. I don't think all the world is going to be like this. I think there are going to be sections of it. But I'm trying to give you some sort of idea about how one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. This is not the first time where land has been taken away. And when it does, fractions happen, paramilitary happen, guerrilla happens, guerrilla warfare happens, fights happen, refugees happen, women get hurt, etc., etc. And they take the children and make them fight. We think in Europe that we had 2 wars and that's enough. Ukraine's come and suddenly we've got our knickers in a twist, haven't we? Our knickers are completely in a twist because suddenly on our front doorstep, we've suddenly got war again. And now we've got someone threatening nukes, or maybe they're threatening nukes, and we don't quite know what to do. We thought we got rid of it all. Don't be arrogant and think it's not coming back. I can tell you one thing, the people in Europe, you got fat, you got lazy, you're naive and you're ignorant. Just because it's not happening to you doesn't mean it won't happen. Just because it happened before doesn't mean it will happen again. There's a saying, if it happens once, it won't happen again. If it happens twice, it will surely happen a third. There were 2 world wars.